Coming up on today's show, we're going to look at some potential draft sleepers for Denver. So instead of looking at guys that the Broncos could maybe trade up to get, what about players that Denver has a good shot at getting with one of their 5 picks, which ranges from late day 2 and then all across the board in day 3? So first things first, I want to hear from everyone watching. Give me your NFL draft sleepers, right? I'm going to go through my list of 5 players, but I'm curious if anyone watching right now has a player on their mind that they think is a good sleeper. So let me know in the comments section below. Our first sleeper here is a quarterback. I'm not doing this to oust Russell Wilson, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, he might be the ultimate sleeper and someone people fall in love with. Last season for UCLA, his 5th year as the starter for the Bruins, 3,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 12 touchdowns on the ground. If anyone watching also was a degenerate gambler and bet on Pac-12 After Dark, you knew UCLA over was a lock because of DTR. Now, Denver currently has a bit of a shallow quarterback room here with just Wilson and Stidham. I 100% expect them to add another quarterback, whether that's through the draft or just a UDFA to have an extra camp arm. That remains to be seen. Now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's athletic, he's a playmaker, he uses his legs to extend plays. He has some great fireworks moments. The issue is he's a little bit undersized and he doesn't always see the field all that well. He doesn't recognize where all 11 defenders are. And after 5 years at UCLA, unfortunately, where you'd want to see him make growth, right, in the mental game, you never really saw him become a field general despite a ton of experience for UCLA. So that is sort of the hiccup people have on DTR. Now, I'm all for taking a shot at a quarterback in this draft class, especially in day 3. And if it pans out, DTR would be great. The way I see it is Dorian Thompson-Robinson will not be an average quarterback in the NFL. He will either be an amazing quarterback or out of the league in 3 seasons. There is no in between for DTR. So it's worth the amazingness on a 5th-round pick, in my opinion. So that is our first draft sleeper. Let's check out our second draft sleeper now. This is Israel Abanikanda, running back out of Pitt. I rehearsed that name 20 times. Did not matter when the lights were on and the camera was on. So Israel Abanikanda, running back out of Pitt. Now, for the Panthers last season, 1,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 yards a pop. Again, you're going to see a lot of players who have great numbers coming out of college. They all don't live up to the billing. I remember when James Washington led FBS in receiving yards. Did not work out super well. Now, the issue is when you look at Denver's running back room last year, there's not a whole lot of good. I mean, we love Latavius Murray, and 703 yards and 5 touchdowns in 12 games are good numbers, but none of these guys are on the roster or healthy, right? So you got to find some more running backs, and Samaje Perine is a start, but that should not be the finished product here. He was a 2-year starter at Pitt. He's got great upside due to his vision and burst, great ability to find the holes in the backfield and just squeeze on through them. The knock people have against him isn't so much for his speed or anything like that. It's a little bit about his power and his balance, meaning when he gets blown off track a little bit, he doesn't necessarily get back on track all that well. So that's where some GMs and scouts are held up on Izzy. Now, before we get to our other draft sleepers, the NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports is growing like crazy. So if you have not subscribed to it and you're looking for an exclusive NFL Draft channel, make us your home for the next 2+ weeks when you go to youtube.com/chatnfl. That link's in the comments and the description of today's video. All right, moving on here. After the running back from Pitt, we're going to go wide receiver. Trey Palmer out of Nebraska. So this is the definition of a true draft sleeper. Now, we do not have enough time or, truly the willpower to discuss Benjamin Albright's all-time meltdown on Twitter, but I still believe he does get good scoops on the Broncos. And I remember back in March when he tweeted out 2 wide receivers in this coming draft for Broncos fans to keep an eye on. Trey Palmer and Bryce Ford-Wheaton from West Virginia. So, talking about the whole Albright situation that unfolded on Twitter, if you know, you know, this past week, that's its own video. And we're not going to do that. But we are going to look at Trey Palmer. So, for Nebraska last season, 71 grabs, 1,043 yards, 14 yards, a reception, and 9 touchdowns for the Cornhuskers. Nebraska was awful last year. So for anyone to have any sort of productive numbers, it's going to garner some attention. Now, the wide receiver room for Denver, it doesn't actually need another wideout that badly in 2023. But 2024, man, if Courtland Sutton does not bounce back, or if Tim Patrick is a bit slow coming off the ACL injury, or if Jerry Jeudy, who I can't confidently say will be on this roster for very long, right? You never know with a trade. You might want to start thinking ahead, and Trey Palmer is a very good mid-round pick that could develop after a season or two to be a very beneficial draft pick. Now, what do you think about this question here? Who do you think is going to be wide receiver 1 for Denver in 2023? Good value on Tim Patrick, I feel like. Could he be like Michael Thomas for Sean Payton? Maybe. I got to see how well he has rebounded from his ACL injury. He's already running and whatnot. I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. Hopefully he can, pick up where he left off in 2022. But let me know who you think wide receiver 1 is for the Broncos this upcoming season. All right, moving on to some other draft sleepers here. This next one is Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle out of Maryland. Now, I've seen Jalen Duncan go all over the place. Some say he's a second round. Some say he's a 5th round prospect. I say this. He's a really good football player, okay? Jalen Duncan in 2022, 7 sacks allowed, 4 hits, 17 hurries, PFF run grade of 61.9. I know what I just said does not match a ringing endorsement from PFF, but for the Terrapins, he was a very reliable player on their offensive line. And when we look at Denver's offensive line, I see a lot of good things, a lot of good faces. What I don't see is any depth. Is anyone ready for Casey Tucker or Prince to be the swing tackle of this team? Because I'm not, right? So why go offensive tackle after signing McGlinchey and getting Bowles back from an injury is, well, I got 2 reasons, but I just thought of a third. The first one is you need a new swing tackle, right? You need a new Cam Fleming. You need a new Calvin Anderson, and Jalen Duncan could be that for you. The second one is possible replacement for Garrett Bowles down the line, right? If Bowles does not have a great 2023 year, maybe Denver cuts ties after this season. And I'm telling you guys, GMs, they draft with 2 years down the line. They are thinking, who can I find in this draft that will be a need for us next offseason? And I'll already have a jump start on that by drafting someone this year. And the third reason is you need more depth at the offensive line. I just want to harp on that one more time. So, moving on to our 5th and final draft sleeper. I'm going to go with this guy from Eastern Michigan, Jose Ramirez. He originally went to Arizona, and then they had some coaching changes there, and he ended up transferring to a JUCO school and then winding up at Eastern Michigan. Now, in 2022, he had 66 tackles, 19 and a half tackles for loss, and 12 sacks. I get it. He might not be playing against the best offensive lines in MAC football, but that is just crazy productive. And those are numbers that, you know what? Maybe that's worth a 6th or a 7th round pick on. So for Jose Ramirez, this could be a very fun late round flyer pick in terms of looking for someone that could bring some potential, say depth for a spot where you need more edge rushers. Now, when we look at the Broncos front 5 here, Baron Browning, Randy Gregory, I don't know if he would be an outside linebacker or if he would be battling with Aaron Patrick and Christopher Allen to be the backup defensive ends and 3 to 5 technique players like Jonathan Harris. but I think this could be worthy of a flyer late day 3 with a lot of upside. We also got to consider this. Look at the Broncos sack leaders from last season. Draymond Jones, off the team. Bradley Chubb, off the team. Baron Browning, good. Deshaun Williams, off the team. Josie Jewell, that's not his primary job. You did not pay Josie Jewell 2 years, $11.5 million to go out and tackle the quarterback. He is there to be an off-ball linebacker. You need to find more pass rushers. So if it's Jose Ramirez late, paired with another edge rusher earlier in the draft, that works for me. But Denver needs to add more pass rushers to this draft class here. Now that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. We keep you guys in the loop and informed and entertained, all things draft related. So consider subscribing if you have not, and we'll see everyone later.